Hi, I'm Paul Guth with IQ Power Tools. We're back again with the iQPC912. Today we're going to talk about the variety of materials you can cut with this tool, talk about the different procedures and the cutting techniques that you'll be using. Very first thing you need is your safety equipment, safety glasses and ear protection, critical. Now we want to take the saw and go through step by step how you're going to start this saw. Take the saw and place it on a firm setting. Come around, push the ignition switch to the on position, pull the choke lever out if it's in a cold start situation. If it's warmed up, you probably don't need the choke. Then you want to bump up the fast idle, which you push this safety trigger lockout, your throttle lockout switch comes up, and push in the fast idle lock. It bumps up the idle, so it just makes it a little easier to start. Then you want to be facing the saw. Place your foot on the back of the saw here to stabilize it, and your left hand on the handle. But before you start, you're going to be pushing in the decompression valve. Push that in with your thumb, and you want to do that each and every time you pull the pull starter. The reason is, this is a very high compression motor. If you pull it without the decompression valve button pushed, you're going to put a lot of stress on your arm and you could injure yourself. You're also putting undue stress on the starter assembly. So it's critical. Each time you pull the pull start, you push in the decompression valve. Let's go ahead and start the motor. Now right there, we got a pop. That's perfect. Now you can go turn the choke off, and it should start on the next 2 or 3 pulls. Let's talk more specifics about cutting techniques with the iQPC912. Remember, this is a professional tool, and like any professional tool, understanding the proper use is critical for effective dust capture and your safety. So be sure you read the manual. Let's talk about the blade and the cutting positions. This portion of the blade, the upper quadrant here, is called the no-cut zone. Never cut with the upper quadrant of the blade, because if you're in the cut with this portion of the blade and it catches, it throws the saw back at the operator, or you, and cause injury. You don't want that. You want to be cutting with the lower quadrant of the blade. This is critical to the performance and safety of the tool. Notice the label here, cutting direction. You always cut in this direction. That allows the dust being pulled out of the cut to go into the dust guard for proper dust capture. So as we mentioned, this tool can cut a variety of materials. Here we have concrete block, brick, pavers, wall cap, concrete slab cutouts, and even very large pieces of precast. But something you always need to keep in mind, because this tool is so versatile and can be held in many different locations, the thing you always need to remember is the dust coming off this blade needs to be trapped and captured into the dust guard right here. And it's coming off this blade at about 180 to 200 miles an hour. So you can see it has to be, that tail needs to be captured by the dust guard here. So whatever you're cutting, you have to remember that. Now let's go and make a few cuts and you can see some of the different techniques. Notice I'm starting my cut on the edge of the piece. Pulling the saw in the cut direction, following the blade. Scooping that dust out of the cut right into the dust guard and into the dust collection system. See how the dust guard stays right behind the cut? That's critical for proper dust collection. Here we are cutting a paver. Notice how I'm placing the dust roller right in the center of the paver and pulling the saw right through the cut, keeping the dust collection guard right in the optimal position for dust collection. Here we're going to do a concrete slab cutout. Start the cut. You may lose a little bit of dust at first, but once it settles in, you got great dust capture. Let the weight of the saw push down into the cut and do all the work. Again, keeping that dust collection guard right behind the cut, capturing that dust being scooped right out. About every 12 inches of cut, let the blade stop and give the filter a quick spin, and then go right back to cutting. Get the dust guard planted, start your cut. You may lose a little bit of dust at first, but notice how the saw settles right in and you've got great dust capture. Let the weight of the saw do the cutting. Keeping that dust guard right behind the cut is optimal for dust capture. See here, we're scooping that dust right out and into the dust collection system. About every 12 inches of cut, stop the blade and give the filter a few quick spins, and then go right back to cutting. About every 5 feet of cut, you're going to need to stop and empty the dust collection chamber. Take it over to a bucket, lay it on its side, unlatch the dust door, pull the dust door lever, which opens the door, and let the dust slide out. You don't need to turn the saw off, you can just leave it running. That actually helps it evacuate the dust faster. Once the dust chamber is empty, you latch it back closed and go back to cutting. Notice we're cutting something a little bit different, a concrete pipe, but we're following the same technique. Cutting in our direction, keeping the dust guard right behind where we're cutting so it scoops that dust out into the dust collection system. Nice even pressure. Approximately about every 12 inches of cut, you're going to want to stop the blade and give the filter a quick spin. But you can leave it right in the cut. Spin the filter and go right back to cutting. So as you can see here, we made a bunch of different cuts with a variety of materials. And look at our work area. It's clean. Look at me. I'm clean. We didn't have to spend a bunch of labor to come back and clean up a mess. And more importantly, we weren't breathing that harmful silica dust. That's very important, and it safeguards your health. Now, as we mentioned, this tool is for professionals. So be familiar with the iQPC912 manual. Understand proper cutting technique and how the dust guard works so that you get effective dust capture. So again, you guys are professionals. You're going to figure out ways to use this tool that we haven't even thought of. But always use your personal protective equipment and be safe. I'm Paul Guth, and we're waging war on dust.